13. The Unatoned. The unatoned, those who have no redemption in Jesus Christ, cannot live without atonement. They seek that atonement in sadomasochistic activities. Quote, a large percentage, end quotes, of prostitution is concerned with meeting the demands of sadomasochism. Politics provides a fertile area of activity for many sadomasochists. We are told of Lloyd George that he reduced those who worked with him to nervous wrecks, almost as a way of charging himself with energy. The treatment of employees and associates in the world of business and the labour unions is rich in sadomasochism. Our literature has become pathological, and its prominent figures are perverse in their natures and writings. Those outside of Christ seek, consciously or unconsciously, an atonement by means of their own sadomasochistic plan. But without Christ's atonement, men are trapped in their own cycles of self-punishment, pleading guilty to the lesser offence and to sadism, ascribing the greater and real offence to others. This sadomasochism will manifest itself in every area of our lives, and it will lead to a politics of self-abasement and self-destruction, combined with an ascription of ultimate sin and offence to a class, religion, race, or group. Sadomasochism separates men from reality to fantasy. It creates what Warner rightly calls the urge to mass destruction, often presented as the salvation of man and the world. It leads not only to a non-productive and suicidal life, but also to fear. Out of a background of police and detective work, O'Grady saw clearly. Fear is the tax that conscience pays to guilt. The unatoned seek atonement, usually unconsciously, in sadomasochistic activities, through fantasy, politics, marriage, religion, social work, and so on, polluting all that they touch. Consciously, also, they recognize that sin must be atoned for, somehow removed. Massive and costly political and social efforts are demanded and instituted in order to remove sin, and we have the politics, sociology, and psychotherapy of sadomasochism on all sides. Sin somehow must be erased. Another common effort was early favoured by Reich. Everybody sins, so let us all forgive one another, and thereby undermine the seriousness of sin. Of course, such a reading of sin is humanistic. If man could forgive and wash away the guilt of sin, then long ago all guilt would have been abolished, and men would be sinning without guilt or fear. But sin is a violation of God's law, and the sinner cannot abolish either God or his law, and his guilt therefore remains. The problem of guilt will not go away. John Ciardi, in commenting in 1962 on the Adolf Eichmann case, wrote, "For the question, who is guilty, might better become, who is not guilty?" He had been in an aircrew responsible for massive destruction in Tokyo during World War II. He commented, "But what if Japan had won, and it had turned out to be Japanese judges who tried the case? What could I have offered in my own defence, but one by one, all of Eichmann's arguments? I was only a cog, the smallest kind of cog, in fact, one of 4 gunners who rode at least 50 feet away from the controls and bomb switches. I only obeyed orders when I had to. It was my duty, alas. But in the end, what could I plead to that happily never convened court but guilty as we all are?" All are guilty, and there is no remission of sins. Humanism begins by trying to abolish sin and guilt, and ends by making it inescapable and ineradicable. By denying the fixed and eternal law of God, it substitutes for it man's law, which becomes quickly totalitarian and provides no hope of escape. Thus, Dr. Lorand sees the demonic dark side of man as the primitive, primordial, and personal. It is Freud's id and ego. Our hope for Dr. Lorand is in the superego, our socialized part. We're constantly witnessing a struggle in our psyche, recognizing hostile and antagonistic powers in perpetual battle with the socialized part of our personality, our censor. This means, when developed to its logical conclusion, salvation by total socialization by means of the totalitarian state. The unatoned may be in the church, and they may be in the world at large. In either case, their lives have no valid direction. As Jude observes, all such men are rebels against God's authority. They are the living dead. Twice dead. They are like wandering stars, having no orbit. They are trees whose fruit withereth, and they are clouds without water. Jude, verses 10 to 13. The unatoned, being aimless, are also the bored. They seek something new as a substitute for becoming a new creation. Thus, a letter by a Miss B.L., aged 20, wrote of an affair of over 18 months with a married man of 30. Every sexual experiment was tried by this, quote, happy, end quote, couple, and then boredom apparently set in. Nothing else to try? Can you help us? We seem to be looking for something new all the time. Luke commented on the decadent Greek thinkers of Paul's day, noting, "For all the Athenians and strangers which were there spent their time in nothing else, but either to tell or to hear something new." Acts chapter 17, verse 21. The unatoned may deny both sin and guilt, but they remain guilt-ridden sinners whose lives manifest their lack of peace and their troubled conscience. Having no peace, they are at war with God's peace, and they are troublers of the peace of this world. "There is no peace, saith the Lord, unto the wicked." Isaiah chapter 48, verse 22.